A freed Israeli hostage described his nearly 500 days in captivity to the United Nations yesterday. He told the UN Security Council, "I've come back from hell."
Eli Sharabi testified of being beaten and starved. He also watched the Hamas captors eat the UN humanitarian meals that were meant for Gaza's citizens. Chris Mitchell reports from Jerusalem.
My name is Eli Sharabi. I'm 53 years old. I've come back from hell. I've returned to tell my story.
Eli Sharabi, freed after 491 days in captivity, addressed the UN Security Council on Thursday.
I cannot begin to describe the agony. It was hell. I was fed a piece of pita a day, maybe a sip of tea. Hunger consumed everything. They beat me. They broke my ribs. I didn't care. I just wanted a piece of bread.
He also testified Hamas stole the humanitarian aid sent into Gaza.
I saw Hamas terrorists carrying boxes with the UN and UNRWA emblems on them into the tunnel. Dozens and dozens of boxes, paid by your government. They would eat many meals a day from the UN aid in front of us, and we never received any of it. When you speak of humanitarian aid, remember this. Hamas eats like kings, while hostages starve.
Sharabi, who dreamed of rebuilding his life with his wife and 2 daughters, learned that Hamas murdered them on October 7th. Israeli UN Ambassador Danny Danon chastised the UN for ignoring Hamas's crimes against the captives.
For 530 days, you have erased the hostages. You have spoken about Gaza without mentioning the crimes of Hamas. You have debated humanitarian assistance without acknowledging the humanitarian crimes Hamas is deliberately inflicting on the hostages. You have had the audacity to talk about a ceasefire without demanding that those held in Hamas's terror tunnels be freed.
On the ground in Gaza, the IDF expanded its military operation. As the Houthis fired another ballistic missile towards Israel Thursday, the U.S. continues its air campaign to stop the Iranian-backed group from terrorizing Israel and the region. Meanwhile, in an unprecedented move, Israel's cabinet voted unanimously to fire the head of the country's domestic intelligence agency. Ronen Bar is the head of the Shin Bet, the equivalent of America's FBI. Netanyahu accused Bar of failing to warn the government in time about October 7th. As Iranians celebrated the Persian New Year of Nowruz, Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu spoke directly to the Iranian people.
May this be a year of servat, prosperity. Prosperity when you, the people of Iran, can finally enjoy Iran's rich natural resources, those resources that have been so long denied to you by an oppressive regime.
Chris Mitchell, CBN News, Jerusalem.
Please continue to pray for Israel. This is ongoing horror. And what has happened at the UN is an international disgrace. They continue to accuse Israel of war crimes, of genocide, of these things, when Israel is the victim in this. Hamas started this war, and they started it with a program they called the Al-Aqsa Flood. Their intent was to go all the way to Jerusalem, to the Temple Mount, and their charter says, we want to wipe Israel off the map, and we want to kill all the Jews in Israel. That's where the genocide is, and to say it's not this case and to turn it on its head is just absolutely horrific. We need to stand with Israel. We've got an update on the Shin Bet decision where the cabinet of Israel unanimously decided to fire the head of their equivalent of an FBI. And now the Supreme Court of Israel has stepped into this and says you have to delay it until we can have more hearings and determine is there probable cause. It's another instance where instead of let's get efficient with government and hold people accountable, now suddenly you have to do it through some kind of court hearing. It makes no sense. Let your government run the government, and let the people who elect that government, if they don't like it, they get to change governments. But to have the court system that is unelected come into this is a little off kilter. So it's not just happening here in the United States, it's happening in Israel too. We'll give you more on that story because they're asked for an expedited hearing on April 8th. So it's a very tense time in Israel, a tense time on the world stage. Let's pray for the government of Iran to change. Let's pray for all these terror groups, whether it's the Houthis or the Hezbollah or Hamas. They're all extensions of the same ideology. And that ideology is dedicated to wiping Israel off the map.